City of Johannesburg will today vote for a fifth mayor under 5 years. The council will elect Thapelo Amad's replacement. The Al-Jamah councillor quit last week, you'll remember, just hours before he could face a motion of no confidence. He replaced Mpho Phalatse back in January as the economic hub experienced a musical change of chairs. Well, let's get more now, and we'll speak to our reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo, who is on the ground. Ziyanda, good morning to you. Some people suggesting that there might be a drama there today, but let's focus the attention on what has been the Democratic Alliance-led coalition. The understanding is that they might actually present two candidates. Who's likely to be chosen eventually?
You know that all these councils are never without any drama. Johannesburg in particular has been a front and center of that chaos, one might say. I mean, it's the fifth mayor that we're trying to see elected here today. Already hearing, Xoli, that there's expected to be some kind of disruption on the part of ANC and EFF to collapse this meeting. On the other hand, as you've mentioned, the DA-led coalition pact is seemingly going to field certain candidates, Mpho Phalatse being one of them. But let's speak to ActionSA's Michael Beaumont, because, Michael, you, of course, used to be in coalition with the DA, not so much anymore. And it would seem that you're also still looking for a candidate, possibly from one of the minority parties.
Well, actually, let me be clear about this. ActionSA stands today with the IFP, with the Freedom Front Plus, with the ACDP and the UIM. So all of the people who formerly partnered with the Democratic Alliance are standing together to support the candidature of Funzi Ngobeni, our ActionSA caucus leader. We think this is an important development because essentially the Democratic Alliance has walked away from the coalition that was once here in Johannesburg and has unilaterally announced a candidate today that can't win a majority. So we have come together as a group of parties to see if we can live up to that commitment to the residents of the city.
Again, it always boils down to the numbers. Will Funzi and your current coalition be able to go up against the ANC and EFF, who have consistently stood together?
Well, I think there's a lot that's unknown at this stage. It's a very fluid environment. As we speak right now, the ANC and the EFF are horribly divided over who they will choose as a candidate, and it's entirely possible that a candidate like Funzi could emerge. But I think what was critical is that we came together to provide that alternative to the residents of Johannesburg, because we can't afford to have another one-seat party without a vision for a city that has so many challenges being foisted upon the residents of Joburg.
The ANC at its recent NEC meeting was talking about them sort of coming up with a framework where the party that has gotten the majority, so to speak, or most of the votes, and maybe not an outright majority, should be the one to sort of put together this coalition pact in these metros. Do you agree with that assertion, given what you've just said about having a one-party minority leading such a big council?
I think it's a factor, and I don't think you can count it out as a factor. But certainly it can't be the only factor. I think one of the things that is fundamentally absent in the conversation right now is the merit of the candidate that's being put forward. Because if the residents of Joburg are just going to get someone from the biggest party without concern for whether that someone has the vision to lead a very complex city and whether they have the temperament to run a stable coalition, that's exactly the cause of the problems we've had here. We think Funzi Ngobeni is that candidate. He's been MMC in 3 different portfolios over 2 different terms of office. But most importantly, from our point of view, he has the temperament. He treats partners with respect and they respond well to him. And I think that's what is going to be required for the sake of stability in the city.
Does ActionSA still maintain its stance that it will never enter into a coalition with the ANC?
Correct, and with the EFF. From our point of view, it is very clear that South Africa needs an alternate to those 2 parties in 2024. What we're seeing happening here in Johannesburg with the EFF selling their lot in with the ANC, it is very important that political parties of a like mind come together and provide an alternative to the South African people to make sure that that scenario doesn't play out at a provincial or national level, because this is actually happening here in municipalities like Joburg.
Johannesburg, of course, it even houses the richest square mile on the continent. It's a big budget and it's a high-stakes game. If this meeting does not go ahead, where to from there? Citizens are tired.
Well, I suppose it will be another case of delays, but I think the point is if it doesn't go ahead, it won't be by virtue of ActionSA or the political parties that we are aligned with. We are working together. We want an election today. We are here to ensure that the business of the city can continue. And if parties aligned to the ANC and EFF come here and take their internal politics and project it onto the residents by more instability and more delays in electing a mayor, then they're going to have to own that one in the next election.
Has there been any attempt from yourselves or from the DA to sort of rekindle this relationship?
Well, we actually reached out to the Democratic Alliance yesterday. The group of parties that ActionSA is aligned with, the IFP, the Freedom Front Plus, the ACDP and the UIM, all reached out to the Democratic Alliance yesterday saying, let's have a meeting, let's see if we can't align behind one candidate that has a real prospect of achieving a majority. And last night we got the answer that the Democratic Alliance isn't interested in such an engagement, which I think really is astonishing, because all it does is increases the likelihood of the very thing the DA professes to oppose, which is an ANC and EFF government.
All right, let's see what happens today. Funzi Ngobeni is who they're fielding, Ngambi, as the prospective mayor of the City of Johannesburg. The DA seemingly, according to Mr. Beaumont, going it alone, reneging or walking away from that coalition pact. The ANC and EFF seemingly also maintaining their relationship. What will happen when it comes down to the numbers, Xoli? We're going to have to see once this meeting starts if that is also a possibility at all today.
Live for us at the Johannesburg Council, my colleague there, Ziyanda. Thank you very much for the time being.